I'm truly confused, sir. What is this get up? I'm trying to zoom in and look at you.
So the reason for this being is the fact that Capcom has gone to great lengths to make sure you never see Ethan Winters' face. Even though they have a male model that they photo imaged every single aspect of his head and put it on this character.
You know what, sir? I look forward to hearing your breakdown of why that's so important, being such a huge fan of this topic.
Yeah. I've got info in spades on Resident Evil. 23 years.
Guys, that being said, let's get to it. I'm just going to throw this out here, sir. Nice smoke through the mask. I need to throw you into the intro, dude. The ginger has been absent for so long, so often. If we're not going to remove him from the intro, we need to at least add you to it.
Is this Friday?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, speaking of, it is Friday.
My dudes.
Thank you for that, sir. Also, listeners, you'll if you're watching YouTube, you'll both have questions, and I assure you maybe understand the appearance that our co-host has right now.
I mean, not really.
Cool. All right, let's leave him in the dark, sir. And by dark, I mean let's get dirty. It is Friday. It's Gaming Bits. It's your Nerdentials podcast number 110. Guys, welcome to episode 110. Welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I almost lost it there, Nick. Can you believe that?
I can.
Hey, last week was a flub. Hopefully, an enjoyable flub for all of you listeners out there. Hopefully, it wasn't too painful. It was painful to edit. I will admit that. Had a little too much of the sauce, you know what I'm saying? And these folks here, they had to redirect me so many times. But guys, I want to, if you're new to the week, new to the platform here at Nerdentials, I just want to lay this out for you. Guys, 3 days a week going forward right now. We're trying it out. Retrying. I know, I got to remember, Nick will always correct me. We're retrying a format we started with 4 years ago. Movies, TV, video games, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's what we're shooting for. Today's Friday. Guys, welcome to our Gaming Bits episode. Still keeping with the shenanigans here.
This is 110, isn't it?
Huh?
This is 110, isn't it?
110. Yes, I said that at some point prior to my whatever. But yeah, 110, dude. This is episode 110. Yeah, we're here. Triple digits this year. Woo!
To be honest, I can't see a thing.
Well, maybe we'll allow you to give them context here after the stinger. Guys, episode 110, Gaming Bits. We are covering a huge video game this week, a full-on review, if you will, and we'll get to more newsworthy topics soon. But let's let Ryan breathe first. After I'm your host, Joe Tweeden. Yeah, let's get to that first. Joining me is the Ryan Kuhn, fully masked up, with no real context yet till we get to it, I guess.
Nope.
Perfect. And down below here, in that corner right here, is my cohort, my man-at-arms, my co-op partner for life, the Nick Thomas. We're sporting
Thank
some fancy shades today.
Thank you.
It's got to be dark in that room.
I'm right underneath the lights, so
no
it's fine.
idea.
It's got to be extra dark for Ryan.
Yeah, this is fogged up beyond belief, and this ain't helping.
All right, well, let's give you a minute. Oh, but you look like Deadpool with the smoke coming out. All you gotta do is like have a gun right next to your nostrils and just breathe in the smoke. Sorry, that weird reference, but anyway, yeah, there you go. Yeah, recreating the imagery.
There we go.
Full black mask though. It's kind of weird. It's dark. You are dark, sir.
Black
and
noir.
speaking of that, guys, let's get to
Do it.
Gaming Bits. Guys, I'm trying out a different background temporarily. We'll see how it goes. Welcome to Gaming Bits. Ryan, you're welcome to stay in there unless you want to give context to
I'll
what
give
that's
context
about.
because I'm going to take this off because this is starting to hurt.
All right. Tell us about it and then get out of it.
So, today's episode of Gaming Bits,
brought to you by
the Nerdentials crew, these lovely guys right here, is about Resident Evil 8, which Capcom, despite hiring a male model to be their main character's face, has gone to great lengths to not show you his face by covering it up in every single picture of the character, Ethan Winters.
Really?
The most
So
you'll ever see is his
even
hands.
even modders can't exploit it?
So in Resident Evil 7, granted, you can find his face online. There are some people who but if in the actual game of Resident Evil 7, if you go into a third-person view, he has a headless body. The camera is where his head would be.
Oh wow. Yeah, so they didn't even put the model in there at all.
Yep. But in promotional images, if you take off the darkness, you can see his beautiful face. And I'm taking the shit off because it's hot as
Sir, we appreciate your
But I'll be right back. 1 second. Boom. And I'm back.
I was waiting for you to pop back in
again.
before appreciating you. What I was going to say is, sir, I appreciate your method acting to make a point, if I may. I appreciated it deeply, so thank you for that.
Yeah, this is a lot cooler to wear. And I don't mean like on an awesome scale. I mean like I was dying.
Physically cooler, yes.
Yeah. Physically cooler.
Leave a comment down below in this video, friends. Leave some appreciation to our host, Ryan, for making a stance on something important regarding this franchise.
Not really, but yeah.
You know what? I'm trying to make it a thing, Ryan. Just let it be. Just let it be.
Let it be. Let it be.
Nope. We're not going down that road. It's not Disney talk right now, sir. Anyway.
That was Let It Go.
Yeah, Let It Be.
Yeah, Disney. Let it go.
I'm saying some Disney Let It Be. You know, some Beatles Let It Be.
Yeah, I was like, wait, Disney Let It Be.
No, Disney was Let It Go.
Yes, Disney's Let It Go.
You confused me. Sorry.
He's trying to redirect. I get it. My bad. Two different references. All right. So, guys. Yep. As purported or proposed by said host Ryan earlier in the introductions here, we are covering Resident Evil 8, aka Village, or Resident Evil Village, or RE8 Village, however you want to look at it. It's about a village.
That's kind of evil.
A village and
with
dark
evil residents.
Dark things. And we're very happy and appreciative to have Mr. Ryan here because he has been essentially, based on the math of how old the franchise is compared to his age, it's safe to say he's been a lifelong franchise devotee,
Yeah.
or at least knowledgeable in said franchise. I think that's safe to say. Am I right, Ryan?
Yeah, you could say that.
We'll
20
leave it.
years.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. What I'd like to do though is give just a quick rundown of just a basic description of what this game is. And I'll try to play RE7 recap and just to give a little brief non-spoilery recap, I guess. But guys, developed and published by Capcom. That's what this is. Resident Evil, the franchise, always has been, probably always will be. Village, in particular, is a survival horror game developed and published by Capcom and is a major installment in the Resident Evil series and a narrative emphasis right there, narrative sequel to the 2017's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Now, before we go off, I'll pass it off to Ryan here to give us his thoughts about it shortly here. He's had the most time behind the wheel. The recap, and I'll cut this if it doesn't sound right to you, Ryan, or if it gives away too much, but I'll read it off here first. Returning to the franchise's survival horror roots, emphasizing exploration, the player controls Ethan Winters as he searches for his long-missing wife in a derelict plantation occupied by an infected family, solving puzzles and fighting enemies. And this Resident Evil 7 title is the first in the main series to use a first-person view. I do remember the acclamations and, hoity-toities about it being like, oh, they're first-person perspective. This is like a first for the series. And upon my research, looking back at the classics, originals 1, 2, 3, and beyond, this is true. Am I correct, sir?
It's about every 3 games at this point, they switch perspective. You had the first 3 as tank controls, the next 3 as behind the back, over the shoulder, third-person view, and these 3 will be first-person, and I'm sure they'll find some new thing.
Okay, but let's clarify real quick.
7 was the very first.
7 was the first to do straight FPS.
Yeah, technically straight FPS, because there was a small time where they had these games called Dead Aim and Resident Evil Survivor and all that, where the shooting was in first person.
Okay, but
everything else was tank controls, kind of over the shouldery.
Well, and then 1 through 3 was like fixed camera angles, like the classics. Camera. The classic ones were fixed camera angles.
True tank controls.
Right. And that was just so. I played some of the older ones that way, and it was weird.
The people that were like against, like, oh, they're changing everything and blah blah blah. It's like, man, they've experimented with this a few times now. So them doing this really wasn't that out of the house.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So that's the layout. That was RE7 did first person for the first time fully, through the entire narrative from the perspective of the lead character. And Resident Evil 8 Village is like an actual, narratively wise, a direct sequel. And from what I've heard, DLC aside, is supposed to be like the conclusion to RE7. Like RE7 and 8 are supposed to be like one cohesive story, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we're not here to spoil the story per se at all. We're here to talk about the experience of the game, our personal experiences with the game, and kind of give it an overall rating compared to previous titles in the franchise. Actually, Ryan, before I throw it over to you, because you do have the most time behind it, I am going to do a playthrough series on our YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I've been swamped by a bunch of other releases that I have not gotten to it yet. So I'm just kind of facilitating the conversation here. I did play 7. I played the demo. I do have a little time behind the demo.
Yeah.
I played both demos, so I can only kind of speak on that level. But the game as a whole, Nick has put a little time in, and Ryan is now running through his second playthrough. So Ryan's been through the whole game, beginning to end, and is doing it again. I would like to toss it over to Nick and just get his thoughts and what time he has spent on it. Well, I'm curious how far into it time wise he's gone. Again, trying to be spoiler free, but Nick, you've played some of the other ones. Kind of give us some context of where you're coming from in this franchise. What have you had going into this?
I have played every game up to this except I haven't played all of 7. And
okay.
But all the other games I've played into, so when they talk about certain aspects of the game, certain things going on, certain organizations, I know what they're talking about. These last two games took a completely different turn than what we're used to with Resident Evil, and I'm okay with that. It was definitely different. And this one, they introduced some things that were really interesting. I've played a bit of the Village. I like the mechanics. I like the CG. I like how it's put together. The sense of dread that the whole game carries. This one is probably the first one that I feel that instead of just like horror movie, the whole thing is drenched in a sense of despair and unquenchable dread. And they make sure that feeling is felt throughout the game. And every time you think you have some hope, abandon it. Abandon it.
Nick, not to like at all question your perspective at all because you experience what you experience. I am curious how far time wise you feel that you've gotten into it in this game. Just curious. Just kind of give our listeners a scope of how far into it you may have gotten. You know.
I got a bit into it. A few hours.
I was gonna say if that's too complicated, dude.
I would say from what Nick has described to me, he's in the second quarter of the game.
Okay, I want to throw this out here. I usually look up like averages for like what players get through, and the most immediate thing that pulls up is like a straight playthrough of the. I know you can do multiple playthroughs with most Resident Evil games. This one looks like the average is around 8.5 hours, like from beginning to end.
Yeah.
You know, that's if you're not taking your time with it. I don't know plot wise where the halfway mark is or anything, but so you're saying you think Nick's done about
he's
a third or 2/3?
No. Where he's at, it's very easy to quarter this game. Like quarter it. He is on the second quarter of the game.
So close to halfway, not there yet.
As soon as he finishes that part, where he's described, he's very, very close to finishing that. So he's just behind the halfway mark of the game.
Okay. Right on.
Like if you take your time on this game, it'll be about 12 hours if you go and 100% it and find everything and all the hidden stuff.
And I've been taking my time. I'm an achievement whore.
Yeah, it's worth exploring because it repays you for looking for things. And it repays you well for that.
Right. I know because I don't know if it's always been true with this series, Ryan, but maybe you can. No, what I mean is maybe you can tell me if this is true regarding not achievements, but like unlockables, bonuses that give you perks for going through it a second time, like the unlimited ammo thing that we've seen in the remakes. Has that always been with the series? Stuff like that?
Starting around, I think Resident Evil 1 had something, I know Resident Evil Deadly Silence, the Resident Evil 1 port to the DS, and the Resident Evil remake. If you beat it in a certain time, got a certain grade, didn't save a certain amount of times, there was challenges in them. They were never like told you what they were. Sorry, I'm gonna keep my leg off there so I'm not shaking nonstop. But
You're good, dude.
so there's challenges in the older ones, and there's still challenges today in the new one.
Yeah.
If you beat it in 2 hours and you didn't save a single time, you get the rocket launcher, you get the machine gun, you get whatever. Resident Evil's always had an unlockable challenge thing.
Yeah.
Something
Oh,
to do.
okay.
So yeah, and it definitely Resident Evil 2 started the A and B scenario thing.
Oh, I was wondering
So
because with the remake, I played through the remakes
yeah,
of 2 and
remake
3, and
didn't
there's
have
multiple.
that. They
this-
had it kinda,
oh.
but in comparison to 2's 1998 version, where it's canonically Claire A, Leon B,
Oh.
you play it in that order, and the things you did as Claire, say you picked up a certain item, that item was not going to be there for your second playthrough as Leon.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And the puzzles you had to do were different, and it was just a very different experience of the same exact story. So with just some extra characters here and there, and like the remake did a great job.
Yeah,
but it was
that's
lacking
cool
on that replayability as the second scenario.
Gotcha.
But yeah, every Resident Evil game has had something you can unlock, something you can really strive to beat, and a grading system for it.
And I know I didn't like go through the older ones, but I loved that there were those elements in the remakes. On some level, there's still that, and I did enjoy that aspect of playing through them. So that's cool though.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Real quick, I want to toss it over to Nick, or back to Nick real quick, just as a conclusion to getting a good chunk into the game. Do you feel like you could give us a generalized rating of how you've enjoyed this game? I know it's not a completion. You haven't finished the game. The rating could change, but do you feel like giving a rating? Because I know I'm going to ask Ryan to give us a rating with him. And we all understand it's not a completed run through for you yet, so it could change, but how are you feeling about it where you're at so far?
It's not my favorite of the Resident Evils, but it is up there.
What is your favorite, just to give listeners a context?
My favorite would be 4, closely followed by 2.
I was going to say that's a huge agreement with a lot of fans. 4 was a huge upturn in the franchise, and 2 has been a huge classic for a lot of people, at least in my research. Ryan, am I correct?
Yeah, there's some people who are diehard Resident Evil original remake 2002 was their favorite.
There was an original remake, HD upgrade.
It took everything of the original game and improved upon it and added to it, so that's why people love that one so much.
Okay, yeah.
My all-time favorite was Resident Evil 2 1998, followed by 4. But I would say Resident Evil 8 is in my top 5.
I was going to say, I know 4 is a huge one, and because of that, a lot of people make comparisons with the current one, Village.
Yeah.
Carrying a lot of time period thematically.
I'll explain that a little bit in my review as well as to why that is.
Okay, all right. Let's sorry.
Oh no,
Nick.
take your time. By all means, let's go back to Nick because.
Yeah. What do you have thoughts on a rating, Nick?
Yeah. This, I don't know how to best describe it. Cinematically and everything that goes along with the game, it's actually one of my favorites cinematically.
Word.
But play-wise, it's a little bit different than any other Resident Evils I've played, and it feels they've turned it more closer to the survival horror Resident Evil is supposed to be, because you empty countless bullets into these things and they don't go down.
Right.
When a headshot or two into a zombie would usually drop it. No, but getting off topic there. I would actually say for a rating on this, I would put it right at about an 8. Not because I can't think of an actual downfall to it. It's
a safe rating with consideration and context to the fact that you haven't finished it yet. So I don't think anyone will fault you for an 8.
no,
You know?
I love it at an 8, and the game was great, like I said, and I've always been a fan of the Resident Evil series. It just, without everything tied in, without the characters and all that, this could quite literally be something other than Resident Evil, and it would get away with it. But to me, it almost didn't feel like Resident Evil because of what you're facing in it. So,
Huh. Interesting.
So
no, dude. Hey, that's it. That's a perspective.
Like I said, I still enjoyed it. I still like it. I'm gonna finish it once I get up the nerve to get past that one scene. That
same here. Well, I'm not even there myself either, and shamefully haven't yet. But that is my little shameless plug that in the coming weeks, guys, expect a full playthrough.
I will give you one hint, Nick. When you get the fuse, hide under, and you go back, come back to the room you got the fuse in, and hide under the bed. That's all I'll say. It'll help you, and that's how you do it. Hide under that bed like you're a little kid, and it's ass beating time.
Oh, I love little hints like that, Ryan. If I get stuck somewhere, I'll be sure to ask you first. That being said, sir, that's a very respectful review, having just gotten nearly halfway through it. Guys, it's time for us to take the rest of this cast through a perspective of a franchise fan and his experience. Also, Ryan, are we correct in reiterating that you're working your way through your second run now on this?
Yeah, I'm just about done with my second playthrough, and then I'm going to be doing a Village of Shadows playthrough, which is the hardest difficulty.
Oof.
I tested it out with starting gear. It's brutal as God.
I bet it is, dude. All right, so where Nick trailed off, since we've gone through his motions, why don't you tell us where your pieces land and how your experience has been and your rating?
So I will say it's really nice going back into the shoes of Ethan Winters. He isn't an action hero. He's an everyman who just had a really bad run of luck 3.5 years ago. And now he's picking back up the pieces, he's living in Romania or Europe. And it's really nice to not be it gives me that same feeling I had back in the 90s where I was playing as, everyday people, cops, just a college student going through these horrific events. Where I think the newer Resident Evils, the first-person games, are shining is that they've become more of a horror anthology. Kind of like how Love, Death, and Robots does multiple stories. If you look at it this way, Resident Evil 7 was about 3 different horror tropes. You got the Hills of Eyes / wrong turn status in the beginning. Then you got anything that has to do with bugs. And then you get Saw. You get Saw as your third horror type. This one takes it back to the classic horror movie. You get your fix of Dracula, Bram Stoker style. You get your dolls and creepy shit. You get your Monster from the Black Lagoon style, and then you get a Frankenstein style movie. It's literally 4 different types of horror movies all packed into one. And I know that that's not necessarily Resident Evil's thing, but that's kind of where they've been going with this story of Ethan Winters. He's experiencing the classic horror tropes. I mean, you got the internet buzzing about the memes of Lady D and them wanting her to step on them. Though I find her daughters a little more attractive, just to be saying. That's me. But I would say this game is a perfect blend of Resident Evil 7's horror and Resident Evil 4's action, especially the setup and the inventory management. God, that's so aesthetically pleasing. Being able to because I can't stress it enough. In between, like after you're done with a fucking major action scene, and you're fighting off hordes of these lichens and vampires and shit.
Yeah.
You go into your inventory, pick up all the shit you picked up. Okay, my ammo's going to be over on the right side. All my guns to the left. And just taking a minute to decompress after the adrenaline spike you had. But going off what Nick was saying, there we go. Forgot everything's backwards.
Yeah.
This game is the very first game in history to actually make me experience dread.
Ooh.
And the first time I experienced it in it was in the castle. So, it's well known by now. The game's been out for a week, and there's been demos and hype all about Lady Domitrescu. She has a castle that has had a very Elizabeth Bathory-inspired situation going on down there. And when you go into the lower levels of the castle, there was a moment where I was like, I really don't want to fucking turn that corner, because I know my brain with horror movies and horror video games, I know something's gonna be there, and I don't have the ammo to deal with it. I don't have the materials to make ammo to deal with it. I'm so
yeah.
That being said, it's like this game, while it's not a perfect Resident Evil game, I will not say that. It is a perfect horror game, in my opinion, because it can go from you feel on top of the world when you're like you have a lot of ammo stockpile and you've been going around, but then that ammo goes quick because, like Nick said, these things don't go down easy. No matter what it is, whether it's the low level like failed vampire mutations to the lichens to other stuff I'm not going to describe, these things don't go down. One of my favorite things about this game, though, is the return of a merchant. And I don't mean that just because, I get to buy guns and stuff. No, it implies there's an almost John Wick level guild in the background of this world.
Dude.
Because they all know each other. Just by the two so far, the two know each other. And I want to know more about this world now than I do about now that Ethan's story is done, because this was supposed to be the end of Ethan's story. Like, hey, we're finishing it here. And it did a great close, especially with Chris Redfield's like antagonistic like opening. Like, I mean, it was in all the trailers. Chris Redfield's
no surprise.
Yeah, and it's like, this is something different, and that's something I think the franchise needed. Like 7 was a return to roots, but mixing with some new stuff. This is taking that and then continuing it with something completely new. So, go ahead.
I know you're doing a great job on the spoiler-free side of stuff, but like the bartering system, or rather the merchant system.
Yeah.
Where that felt super different and new to me for a Resident Evil game. Is that true across the whole franchise? Or where's another indication of this? What are we connecting the dots from? 4 did this?
Yeah, 4, the same guy who voiced Paul Mercier, who voiced Leon Kennedy in that.
Okay.
The merchant in 4.
Okay, I was curious. I was like,
5, there is technically a merchant, but he doesn't talk. It's just in between
just a way
chapters.
of
Chapters, you can buy guns,
upgrading and buying things.
Yeah.
I was so curious because it was like, this has not been in any of the remakes that have played 2, 3,
and you
or
just find them
7.
in the most random fucking places.
Yeah, And that's what I love. I
Okay.
love that callback because there's
Yeah.
a certain point in the game where Ethan's like, "Who even are you?" And he's like, "I can't answer that question to you." And I'm like,
Now it's in the demo too. Like everyone's aware of this. There's a really oversized gentleman,
yeah,
the Duke, inside the castle, and you can barter with him. And I'm like, once I in the demo, it's on our playthroughs on our channel. Me reacting to that, I'm just like, I think I even mentioned it. I'm like, this is so different. I don't remember there being like a store type setup in any of the other Resident Evil games I've played recently.
yeah.
But there's the tragedy. I've never played 4, which is lauded as a fan favorite across
So
franchise.
just a
So
quick
back to you, sir. Yeah, back
just
to
a
you.
quick snippet back to 4. It's a great game. It is. It's a fantastic game. But that's where Resident Evil started losing the plot and started trying to mimic the movie franchise that came out around the same time
Oh,
with Mila Jovovich, which, don't get me wrong, the first 2 movies were pretty good. But the fans unanimously hate that franchise. And that's the reason why 5 was only action and basically no horror, and 6 was basically the same thing. And I like 6; it's okay, but
there was a
not Resident Evil.
there was a wild, convoluted
Yeah,
thought process between the game and the movie at that point because they were trying to be each other or improve upon what worked, what didn't. It got very messy.
So back to 8, though, there are spots in the game which should have been longer. I think the second part, where Nick's at, is the perfect length. But the third part, I think, could have done a little more. It's still good, and it's a cool idea, but there should have just been a little more build-up before that Lord. Because, I mean, this Lord's kind of the bitch of the Lords. He's kind of like the worst one, and they all know it, and he knows he's the worst one. But yeah. Another great thing about 8 is there's a ton of callbacks and Easter eggs. Even in the final boss fight, there is a callback to Resident Evil 4.
Of course.
Which is fantastic. And as well as there's one line that blew... I fucking died laughing, and it's during a boss fight, and there's a line that said, and in reference, he says, "I'm gonna kill that boulder punching asshole," in reference to Chris, because in RE5, the most notorious scene of all time in Resident Evil is Chris punching a boulder into a volcano. And I'm not talking like a rock, not something like, those gravity weights. No, I'm talking a boulder the size of 2 Lexuses with a fucking giant SUV on top of them.
Wow.
So
this goddamn superhero.
That made me really happy. But another thing I would say is a bonus to this is that they brought back the mercenaries. So the mercenaries started in Resident Evil 3. And it was a bonus mode where you can play as certain characters and just go kill a bunch of zombies or enemies with a certain time limit and rack up points to unlock stuff.
Ooh. That
expanded in 4 and then was perfected in 5. 6 was good. It was okay. But this has brought it back, and it's under it's still the same mercenaries, but with a new form, and there's power-ups, and it's really cool. And you get that once you beat the game. So definitely, when you do get it, try it out. It's a lot of fun. If you just want to kill some time and kill some zombies, it's fun. But overall, as far as pacing goes and everything and gameplay and all that, I got to give it a 9. The reason it's not a 10 to me and it's not a perfect game is it did stray really far from the Resident Evil story, or not story. It definitely opens up the story to go back to mainline characters.
Right.
Great. But it did stray a little further than it should have from the core Resident Evil fan base, which is, I'll give it a pass and all. but it did. I'll be honest, it did. And there should have been some build-up before the third quarter of the game, but still good. Still good. There's just little things that, like, I feel like it was cut content, stuff that should have been in the game that just isn't. And I understand developers and times and crunch times. My cat's throwing up in my carpet. God damn it!
I wonder if that's anything that could possibly be made up in DLC at all.
It wouldn't work for DLC, but towards the end of the game, it will make a lot of sense because there has been 2 DLCs on the Steam page that can be seen that there's going to be DLCs.
Right.
It would definitely make sense because, Chris has been an antagonistic role this entire build up for this.
Yeah.
It would make a lot of sense if one of those DLCs is another Chris DLC like we had in 7. So I could see that happening. You see what he was doing the entire storyline while he's fucking with you and doing all this other shit. Right. But I don't know what the second one could be. That's what's really got me interested because it's like, this is a really well-contained story. This feels final. They made a perfect conclusion to this character arc, and they did really well. It makes me sad to think that we're not going to get a third direct sequel like that, but maybe they'll find a way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if through the DLC there will be an alternate direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe.
So yeah, I'm going to say it's a solid 9. I would put it as my 3rd favorite Resident Evil game.
Nice. And what's the order?
It would go 2. Actually, no, I'd put it as my 4th because 2, then 4, then 2 remake, Resident Evil 8, and then Resident Evil original remake.
Very interesting, sir.
Those are my top 5. These are my top 5 Resident Evils. With Resident Evil 7 being number 6.
Nice.
That was a good game. A lot of people panned it for that first-person perspective, but I thought it was fresh.
I don't know, dude. I from a fan who hasn't had the history you do, I just on the onset, I can see how I would agree with that lineup.
Yeah.
The only thing what I want to do now at this point, I suppose, is we kind of made this. We didn't have a lot of gaming news at the moment to talk about, and I knew there'd be a decent chunk to say about Resident Evil 8. And I definitely appreciate having you here, Ryan.
Hard pause really quick.
Yeah, pause.
Before my cat spreads that.
It's all good. Ugh. All right, dude. This is going to be a first, man. We've nearly successfully recorded 3 podcasts in one night.
My cat's just sitting there trying to going around it, trying to cover the smell and stuff. I'm like, I appreciate that you're trying, but I don't want you to spread this.
You can't see this.
It didn't happen, I promise. It's not there.
Oh, it's all good, dude.
No, I love that cat to death, the Jesus Christ cat.
Be able to cover that. They have their moments, I know. Yeah. All right. Cutting back here.
We didn't talk about It Takes Two.
No. Me and Nick try to save those. Well, we could shamelessly plug it, but we try to save the reviews for actually finishing it, of course.
Yeah.
No, but here, just wrapping things up here, guys, for Gaming Bits. Resident Evil 8. I guess what I wanted to say was I've only played the demo so far. I do have the full game and do plan on doing a full playthrough of it, so you guys can check that out on our YouTube channel. You will see that and probably some TikTok freakouts throughout at some point, I'm sure, over the next week or two.
I can't wait.
I expect you, sir, to be checking them out. I know.
I watch all the TikToks.
Oh, dude, I know. TikTok's a rabbit hole sometimes for me, just like YouTube.
Yeah.
But that being said, that is coming up, and so I have to refuse to give any sort of rating since I have not experienced the game at hand. I have put in about 2 hours total. I know that's shocking. You're like, wait, didn't you guys have a time-limited demo release? Yes. I used several accounts. No, I used 2
I
different
did
accounts.
that with Resident Evil 2's remake.
Yeah, I
A few
used.
times.
I know people do this. It's normal. I spent because I took my time with the first demo. Since I know I'm an Xbox player. We got it late. Damn you, Sony and Capcom. Blah blah blah. Whatever. It's fine. Sony got their first hit. At getting the demo early. We eventually got the demo they got, and then the second demo. So it's all good. But what I will say though is, yeah, demo's really fun and exciting, and what Ryan has shared with us, I look forward to checking out, and you guys can check a lot of the raw reactions on our YouTube channel in the coming weeks. But I guess before we wrap things up, so guys, one more thing I think we'll just kind of throw out there. If you've only been here for the podcast, thank you for joining us. Awesome. We love all of you. But we do have some additional content that comes out pretty regularly. So guys, if you are checking out the Nerdentials YouTube channel, it's not daily uploads right now, but we are consistently putting out a few different gaming series. And right now, me and my buddy, my man at arms, Mr. Nick here, are playing through our second big co-op adventure, a follow-up from the same game developer that created the Prison Break video game co-op experience, A Way Out. That can be found on a playlist on our channel right now, if you guys want to see that. Hilarious shenanigans. I think there's maybe about 12 parts, somewhere around there, but it was an epic, nonstop, one thing after another, crazy fun.
When given the option, always hit the gas.
Always hit the gas. Now, and also never let Nick drive. And you'll find that out on one of our TikToks. But joking aside, that was a shameless plug. But I'm also going to shamelessly plug our current series that we're actively uploading and playing right now. It's the sequel, not sequel. It's a spiritual sequel to the co-op experience that the developers have created, and they are kind of top-notch in their industry right now with co-oping experiences. It Takes Two. Guys, it is Toy Story with adult problems. No joke. Literally, it's a hijinks, puzzle solving, constant mechanic changing experience. And we're about 8
You
videos
must
in.
use cooperation.
Yeah. The crazy, over exuberant talking book is trying to help a married couple, avoid divorce. And there's a poor child in the middle of it all. I'll leave you with that, guys. Check out our TikToks, our YouTube shorts, or start watching this series. The hijinks are hilarious. We are continuing to do that series right now. That's our active co-op series at the moment. So,
Can I do a plug really quick?
yes, absolutely. Of course, dude. No, you may
Yeah.
not. I'm kidding. I missed my chance of denying you. Go. Ryan, what is your plug for gaming?
Well, for gaming, if you want to check me out anytime, I mean, if you haven't gotten enough of me here
Oh
anyway,
my.
you
Ooh,
can find me on Twitch at Coon Cannon, KUHNCANNON.
right here,
You can
right
also
there.
find me by that same name on TikTok for my more comedy shorts and hot takes about random stuff in the world. But if you add just this little word behind Coon Cannon called just the word gaming, you can find my other one where you can find my Twitch clips. Some of my funnier stuff that I've said and done and my viewers have made me do.
Yes,
On
he's the
Twitch.
Lorax.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. And for some fucking reason, They're speaking Vietnamese. But that's all I got.
Right on, dude.
And I do Let's Plays on YouTube under the same name because I try to keep things simple.
Same name, branding. He's all about branding, and so are we.
Yeah.
Branding. Keep it in the fam, dude. That's right, guys. So, that's a lot of what's currently going on with all of us. We got some TikTokies, we got some shorts, we got some YouTube activity, we got some Twitch activity. We got a lot of activity involving games. So thank you for joining us, episode 110 on Friday. This has been your Gaming Bits, guys, for the week. If we can keep this thing going strong and going long, guys, expect us next Friday, returning for more Gaming Bits. And if you're interested in movie or TV, we'll be back Monday and Wednesday accordingly. Guys, that wraps up the episode. So, for myself, Nick, and Ryan, this has been your Nerdy Essentials. And as always, our gaming nerds, we'll see you
On the other side.
On the other side.
Thanks, Ryan. We love you. We love your face.
Wait, on the other side? What?
Where?